In a moment, your ears will witness the most momentous event in the history of Cleveland, Ohio, since Mr. Terminal built his tower and St. Lawrence opened his seaway. It's a unique, unbelievable musical event, one that was part of a series celebrating the centennial year of the Western Reserve Historical Society. Well, what is this shattering musical event? First, I want you to know that it's the brainchild of Cleveland's leading classic pianist, Mr. Arthur Loesser, of the sedate Cleveland Institute of Music. The shattering thing is, this is a concert of popular music, and Arthur Loesser's brilliant fingers have never before been known to do popular music in a public performance. The keys of this Steinway just won't believe it. It's as unbelievable as Paderewski giving a public performance of Chopsticks. Accompanying Arthur Loesser will be Mr. William Boehm on the vocal cords. Bill Boehm is Cleveland's leading dramatic tenor, a leading producer and director of industrial shows, and father of those priceless, fabulous singing angels. As a matter of precaution, I hinted to Arthur Loesser, don't you think you should perform at least one or two classical numbers, you know, like Coming Through the Riot, or The Sweetheart of Sigmund Freud, or The Little Brown Jug in the Veil, or Our Cow Didn't Give Any Milk, So We Sold Him. But Arthur Loesser was adamant. He said, no classic music on this program. To offset what's coming, I hope I've set a tempo for something that's going to be classic, if not in music. And now I toss you to the distinguished Arthur Loesser, who with Bill Boehm will hoist you into the wild blue yonder in a world premiere entitled American Life in Popular Song.
The Yankees boast that they make clocks which just beat all creation. They never made one could keep time with our great speculation. Our stocks like clocks go with a spring, wind up, run down again. But all our strikes are sure to cause oil on the brain. Stocks bar, stocks up, then on the wane. Everybody's troubled with oil on the brain. There's various kinds of oil afloat, cod liver, castor, sweet, which tend to make a sick man well and set him on his feet. But one a curious feat performs, we just a well obtain, and set the people crazy with oil on the brain. Stocks bar, stocks up, then on the wane. Everybody's troubled with oil on the brain. There's neighbor Smith, a poor young man who couldn't raise a dime, had clothes which boasted many rents and took his nip on time. But now he's clad in dandy style, sports diamonds, kids, and cane, and his success was owing to oil on the brain. Stocks bar, stocks up, then on the wane. Everybody's troubled with oil on the brain.
Stocks par, stocks up, then on the wane. Everybody's troubled with oil on the brain. May I read you the last verse? Here it is. There's Maple Shad, Excelsior, Bull Creek, Big Tank, Dalcell, and Keystone, Star, Venango Briggs, Organic and Farrell, Petroleum, St. Nicholas, Corn Planter, New Creek Vein. Sure 'tis no wonder many have oil on the brain. Now, what do you suppose happened to all those companies? Gobbled up by Standard Oil, you may be sure.
Stocks by stocks up, then on the wane. Everybody's troubled with oil on the brain. Hello Central, can't you see? Kindly hurry, just for me. Please do get me San Francisco, someone's waiting all alone. Frisco is her name, she's at the Golden Gate. Central, it's a shame for her to have to wait. Please, long distance, do connect me. Get her on the telephone. Hello, Frisco, hello. Hello, Frisco, hello. Don't keep me waiting, it's aggravating. Why can't you hurry, Central, you're so slow. Hello, now can you hear? You know I love you, dear. Your voice is like music to my ear. When I close my eyes, you seem so near. Frisco, I called you up to say hello. Hello, New York, hello.
How do you do, my dear? I only wish that you were here.
Hello, New York, hello.
How is the fair out there? They tell me that it is a bear.
Yes, dear, I hear you. Wish I were near you. Oh, Central, won't you please get off the wire?
I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
Hello, dearie, hello.
Dearie, I've bought the ring and I've arranged for everything.
You know I love you so.
We'll be together soon and then we'll have a honeymoon.
Your voice is like music to my ear. When I close my eyes, you seem so near. New York, I'm glad you called to say hello. Captain Jinx one night on Broadway, all alone, read the news about the wireless telephone. Pretty soon his thoughts began to stray, over 7,000 miles away. Then he went and drew a whole month's pay to phone and say, hello, Hawaii, how are you? Let me talk to Honolulu. To ask her this, give me a kiss by wireless. Please state, I can't wait to hear her reply. For I had to pawn every little thing I own to talk from New York through the wireless telephone. Oh, hello, Hawaii, how are you? Goodbye. After he was through his phoning, he was broke. To his friends he started moaning, it's no joke. For the money spent to phone that far, I could buy myself a motor car. But I love her like a real jack tar, so there you are. Hello, Hawaii, how are you? Let me talk to Honolulu. To ask her this, give me a kiss by wireless. Please state, I can't wait to hear her reply. For I had to pawn every little thing I own to talk from New York through the wireless telephone. Oh, hello, Hawaii, how are you? Goodbye. Not so far from here, there's a very lively atmosphere. Everybody's going there this year, and there's a reason. The season opened last July. Ever since the USA went dry, everybody's going there, and I'm going too. I'm on my way to Cuba. That's where I'm going. Cuba, that's where I'll stay. Cuba, where wine is flowing, and where dark-eyed Stellas light their fellas panatellas. Cuba, where all is happy. Cuba, where all is gay. Why don't you plan a wonderful trip to Havana? Hop on a ship and I'll see you in Cuba. Take a friend's advice. Drinking in a cellar isn't nice. Anybody who has got the price should be a Cuban. Have you been longing for the smile that you haven't had for quite a while? If you have, then follow me and I'll show the way. I'm on my way to Cuba. That's where I'm going. Cuba, that's where I'll stay. Cuba, where wine is flowing, and where dark-eyed Stellas light their fellas panatellas. Cuba, where all is happy. Cuba, where all is gay. Why don't you plan a wonderful trip to Havana? Hop on a ship and I'll see you in Cuba. You can smash the top and smash up the seat. You can twist it out of shape till both ends meet. Smash the body and rip out a gear. Smash up the front and smash up the rear. Smash up the fender and rip off the tires. Smash up the lamps and cut out the wires. Throw in the clutch and then forget the juice, and the little old Ford will go to beat the deuce. And the little old Ford, it rambled right along, and the little old Ford, it rambled right along. Now cut that out, you naughty tease. 'Tis a left-hand driver and a right-hand squeeze. Patch it up with a piece of string, spearmint gum or any old thing. When the power gets sick, just hit it with a brick, and the little Ford will ramble right along. The streetcar company was making people stand. There was room for a foot and a strap for a hand. The poor suburbanites were standing in the street. The language they were using wasn't very sweet. Along came a Ford with a big white sign that a nickel took you out to the end of the line. It stole those people as the trolley came along, and the little old Ford sang a 5-cent song. And the little old Ford, it rambled right along, and the little old Ford, it rambled right along. The streetcar ran with an empty house, for everybody rode on that little road louse. The streetcar people nearly had a fit, but the blamed little Ford, it didn't care a bit. When you want to get some graft, just load up your funny craft, and the little Ford will ramble right along. Father, dear Father, come home with me now. The clock in the steeple strikes 1. You said you were coming right home from the shop as soon as your day's work was done. Our fire has gone out, our house is all dark, and Mother's been watching since tea. With poor brother Benny so sick in her arms, and no one to help her but me. Come home, come home, come home, please, Father, dear Father, come home. Hear the sweet voice of the child, which the night winds repeat as they roam. Oh, who could resist this most plaintive of prayers? Please, Father, dear Father, come home. Father, dear Father, come home with me now. The clock in the steeple strikes 2. The night has grown colder and Benny is worse, but he has been calling for you. Indeed, he is worse. Ma says he will die, perhaps before morning shall dawn. And this is the message she sent me to bring. Come quickly, or he will be gone. Come home, come home, come home. Please, Father, dear Father, come home. Hear the sweet voice of the child, which the night winds repeat as they roam. Oh, who could resist this most plaintive of prayers? Please, Father, dear Father, come home. Father, dear Father, come home with me now. The clock in the steeple strikes 3. The house is so lonely, the hours are so long, for poor weeping mother and me. Yes, we are alone. Poor Benny is dead and gone with the angels of light. And these were the very last words that he said. I want to kiss Papa good night. Come home, come home, come home. Please, Father, dear Father, this most plaintive of prayers. Please, Father, dear Father, come home. Sunday morning, just at 9, Dan McGinty, dressed so fine, stood looking at a very high stone wall, when his friend young Pat McCann says, I'll bet $5, Dan, I could carry you to the top without a fall. So on his shoulders he took Dan, to climb the ladder he began, and soon commenced to reach up near the top. When McGinty cute all wrote to win the 5, he did let go, never thinking just how far he'd have to drop. Down went McGinty to the bottom of the wall, and though he won the 5, he was more dead than alive. Sure, his ribs and nose and back were broke from getting such a fall, dressed in his best suit of clothes. From the hospital Mac went home when they fixed his broken bones, to find he was the father of a child. So to celebrate it right, his friends he went to invite, and soon he was drinking whiskey fast and wild. Then he waddled down the street in his Sunday suit so neat, holding up his head as proud as John the Great. But in the sidewalk was a hole to receive a ton of coal that McGinty never saw till just too late. Down went McGinty to the bottom of the hole, then the driver of the cart gave the load of coal a start, and it took us half an hour to dig McGinty from the coal, dressed in his best suit of clothes. Now McGinty raved and swore about his clothes, he felt so sore, and an oath he took he'd kill the man or die. So he tightly grabbed his stick and hit the driver a lick, then he raised a little shanty on his eye. But 2 policemen saw the muss, and they soon joined in the fuss. Then they ran McGinty in for being drunk, and the judge says with a smile, we will keep you for a while in a cell to sleep upon a prison bunk. Down went McGinty to the bottom of the jail, where his board would cost him nix, and he stayed exactly 6. They were big long months he stopped, for no one went to his bail, dressed in his best suit of clothes. Now McGinty, thin and pale, one fine day got out of jail, and with joy to see his boy was nearly wild. To his house he quickly ran to see his wife, the Dahlia Ann, but she'd skipped away and took along the child. Then he gave up in despair, and he madly pulled his hair as he stood one day upon the river shore. Knowing well he couldn't swim, he did foolishly jump in, although water he had never took before. Down went McGinty to the bottom of the sea, and he must be very wet, for they haven't found him yet. But they say his ghost comes round the docks before the break of day, dressed in his best suit of clothes. Come all you rounders if you want to hear a story about a brave engineer. Casey Jones was the rounder's name. On a 6-8-wheeler, boys, he won his fame. The caller called Casey at 4:30, kissed his wife at the station door, mounted to the cabin with his orders in his hand, and he took his farewell trip to that promised land. Casey Jones mounted to the cabin, Casey Jones with his orders in his hand. Casey Jones mounted to the cabin, and he took his farewell trip to that promised land. Put in your water and shovel in your coal, put your head out the window, watch them drivers roll. I'll run her till she leaves the rail, 'cause I'm 8 hours late with that western mail. He looked at his watch, and his watch was slow. He looked at the water and the water was low. He turned to the fireman and he said, we're going to reach Frisco, but we'll all be dead. Casey Jones, going to reach Frisco. Casey Jones, but we'll all be dead. Casey Jones, going to reach Frisco. We're a-going to reach Frisco, but we'll all be dead. Casey pulled up that Reno hill. He tooted for the crossing with an awful shrill. The switchman knew by the engine's moan that the man at the throttle was Casey Jones. He pulled up within 2 miles of the place. Number 4 stared him right in the face. Turned to the fireman, said, boy, you better jump, 'cause there's 2 locomotives that's a-going to bump. Casey Jones, 2 locomotives, Casey Jones, that's a-going to bump. Casey Jones, 2 locomotives, there's 2 locomotives, that's a-going to bump. Casey said just before he died, there's 2 more roads that I'd like to ride. Fireman said, now what could that be? The Southern Pacific and the Santa Fe. Mrs. Jones sat on her bed a-sighing, just received a message that Casey was dying. Said, go to bed, children, and hush your crying, 'cause you got another papa on the Salt Lake line. Mrs. Casey Jones got another papa, Mrs. Casey Jones, on that Salt Lake line. Mrs. Casey Jones got another papa, and you've got another papa on that Salt Lake line. When Louie came home to the flat, he hung up his coat and his hat. He gazed all around, but no wifey he found. So he said, where can Flossie be at? A note on the table he spied. He read it just once, then he cried. It ran, Louie dear, it's too slow for me here, so I think I will go for a ride. Meet me in St. Louis, Louis, meet me at the fair. Don't tell me the lights are shining any place but there. We will dance the hoochie coochie. I will be your tootsie wootsie if you will meet me in St. Louis, Louis, meet me at the fair. The dresses that hung in the hall were gone, she had taken them all. She took all his rings and the rest of his things, the picture he missed from the wall. What moving, the janitor said, your rent is paid 3 months ahead. What good is the flat, said poor Louie, read that. And the janitor smiled as he read. Meet me in St. Louis, Louis, meet me at the fair. Don't tell me the lights are shining any place but there. We will dance the hoochie coochie. I will be your tootsie wootsie if you will meet me in St. Louis, Louis, meet me at the fair. Oh, the night that I struck New York, I went out for a quiet walk. Folks who are onto the city say better by far that I took Broadway. but I was out to enjoy the sights. There was the Bowery ablaze with lights. I had one of the devil's own nights. I'll never go there anymore. The Bowery, the Bowery. They say such things and they do strange things on the Bowery, the Bowery. I'll never go there anymore. I had walked but a block or two when up came a fellow and me he knew. Then a policeman came walking by, chased him away, and I asked him why. Wasn't he pulling your leg? Said he. Said I, he never laid hands on me. Get off the Bowery, you fool, said he. I'll never go there anymore. The Bowery, the Bowery. They say such things and they do strange things on the Bowery, the Bowery. I'll never go there anymore. Struck a place that they called a dive. I was in luck to get out alive. When the policeman heard my woes, saw my black eye and my battered nose. You've been held up, said the copper fly. No, sir, but I've been knocked down, said I. Then he laughed, though I couldn't see why. I'll never go there anymore. The Bowery, the Bowery. They say such things and they do strange things on the Bowery, the Bowery. I'll never go there anymore. Say, let us fly, dear where, kid, to the sky, dear. Oh, you flying machine, jump in, Miss Josephine, ship ahoy. Oh, joy, what a feeling, where, boy, in the ceiling, oh, high, hoopla, we fly to the sky so high. Come, Josephine, in my flying machine, going up she goes, up she goes. Balance yourself like a bird on the beam in the air. She goes, there she goes, up, up a little bit higher. Oh my, the moon is on fire. Come, Josephine, in my flying machine, going up, hold on, goodbye. 1, 2, now we're off, dear, say you. Pretty soft, dear, oh dear, don't hit the moon, no dear, not yet, but soon, you for me. Oh, gee, you're a fly kid, not me. I'm a sky kid, gee, I'm up in the air, but you for fair. Come, Josephine, in my flying machine, going up she goes, up she goes. Balance yourself like a bird on the beam in the air. She goes, there she goes, up, up a little bit higher. Oh my, the moon is on fire. Come, Josephine, in my flying machine, going up, hold on, goodbye. Johnny O'Connor put an automobile. He took his sweetheart for a ride one Sunday. Johnny was tucked up in his best Sunday clothes. She nestled close to his side. Things went just dandy till he got down the road. Then something happened to the old machinery. That engine got his goat, off went his hat and coat. Everything needed repairs. He'd have to get under, get out and get under to fix his little machine. He was just dying to cuddle his queen, but every minute when he'd begin it, he'd have to get under, get out and get under. Then he'd get back at the wheel. A dozen times they'd start to hug and kiss, and then that darn old engine, it would miss, and then he'd have to get under, get out and get under, and fix up his automobile. Millionaire Wilson said to Johnny one day, your little sweetheart don't appreciate you. I have a daughter who is hungry for love. She likes to ride by the way. Johnny had visions of $1 million in gold. He took her riding in his little auto. But every time that he went to say, marry me, 'twas the old story again. He'd have to get under, get out and get under to fix his little machine. He was just dying to cuddle his queen, but every minute when he'd begin it, he'd have to get under, get out and get under. Then he'd get back at the wheel. A dozen times they'd start to hug and kiss, and then that darn old engine, it would miss, and then he'd have to get under, get out and get under, and fix up his automobile. Now Henry Jones and a pretty little queen took a ride one day in his big limousine. The car kicked up and the engine wouldn't crank. There wasn't any gas in the gasoline tank. About that time along came Nord, and he rambled right along in his little old Ford, and he stole that queen as his engine sang a song, and his little old Ford just rambled right along. And his little old Ford, it rambled right along, and the little old Ford, it rambled right along. The gas burned out in the big machine, but the darn little Ford don't need gasoline. The big limousine had to back downhill. The blame little Ford is going up still. When she blows out a tire, just wrap it up with wire, and the little Ford will ramble right along. Now they ran over glass, and they ran over nails, and they ran over pigs and puppy dogs' tails. They spotted a cop and shot out of sight. They rambled all day and they rambled all night. They smashed up the fences and telephone poles. They bumped into ditches and deep chuck holes. They bumped into a preacher, and the preacher took a ride, and the Ford rambled on with Johnny and his bride. And the little old Ford, it rambled right along, and the little old Ford, it rambled right along. He swung around the corner and he bumped into a mule, and the darn old jackass kicked like a fool. He kicked and he kicked and he kicked the wheels, but he had a quick kicking to save his heels. When it runs out of dope, just fill it up with soap, and the little Ford will ramble right along. You can smash the top and smash up the seat. You can twist it out of shape till both ends meet. Smash the body and rip out a gear. Smash up the front and smash up the rear. Smash up the fender and rip off the tires. Smash up the lamps and cut out the wires. Throw in the clutch and then forget the juice, and the little old Ford will go to beat the deuce. And the little old Ford, it rambled right along, and the little old Ford, it rambled right along. Now cut that out, you naughty tease. 'Tis a left-hand driver and a right-hand squeeze. Patch it up with a piece of string, spearmint gum, or any old thing. When the power gets sick, just hit it with a brick, and the little Ford will ramble right along.